Something went terribly wrong in the presence of God. Not outside the camp, not among the rebellious, but inside the holy place, by the hands of priests. They were chosen, they were anointed, they were set apart. And yet, in a single moment, everything changed, because they brought something to God He never asked for. The wilderness was quiet that day. The tabernacle stood at the center of Israel's camp, covered in fine linen, glowing under the desert sun. This was no ordinary place. This was where heaven touched earth. Inside, every detail mattered. Every movement, every offering, every flame, it had all been commanded by God. Nothing was random. Nothing was casual. Because God is holy. Among the people stood two men, Nadab and Abihu, sons of Aaron, priests of the Most High. They weren't outsiders. They had seen God's glory. They had stood on the mountain, witnessing divine power with their own eyes. They had been chosen to serve, to represent the people before God. They knew the instructions. They knew the fire had to come from the altar. They knew. And yet, something shifted. It started with a decision. Simple, quiet, almost unnoticeable. They took their censers, tools meant for sacred worship. They filled them with fire, but not the fire God commanded. This was different. Strange fire, unauthorized, unholy, out of alignment with what God had spoken. Maybe they thought it didn't matter. Maybe they assumed God would accept it anyway. Maybe they believed sincerity was enough. But in God's presence, obedience matters more than assumption. There was a moment, right before they stepped forward. A pause. A hesitation. They knew what had been commanded. They knew the fire was supposed to come from the altar. And yet, something inside them whispered, "This is close enough." Maybe no one would notice. Maybe it didn't seem like a big difference. After all, it was still fire, still worship, still an offering. But obedience isn't measured by how close something looks. It's measured by alignment with what God actually said. And in that quiet moment, they chose their way. Step by step, they moved closer. The air was thick, heavy with the weight of glory. This wasn't just ritual. This was the presence of the living God. The same God who parted seas. The same God who spoke from fire. And now they stood before Him, holding something He never asked for. Then it happened. Without warning, without delay. Fire came out from the presence of the Lord. The light was overwhelming, not like fire they had ever seen before. This wasn't natural. This was holy. This was God responding instantly. In a single moment, they were gone. No second chances. No time to explain. No opportunity to fix the mistake. The same presence that blesses also judges. The camp froze. No one moved. No one spoke. The priests, gone. The sons of Aaron, gone. Even the wind seemed to stop, as if creation itself paused to acknowledge what had just happened, because they approached God on their own terms. The weight of it hit everyone at once. God is not casual. God is not to be approached carelessly. Aaron stood there, a father, a high priest, a man caught between grief and reverence. His sons had just died. Every instinct in him wanted to cry out, to question, to grieve out loud. But he didn't. No protest, no argument, just silence, because deep down he understood. Then came the words that echoed through the camp. "I will be regarded as holy by those who come near me." God made it clear. This wasn't about emotion. This wasn't about impulse. This was about holiness, about reverence, about the reality that God is not like us. He is not to be reshaped, redefined, or approached however we feel. He sets the standard. This moment became more than a tragedy. It became a warning, not just for Israel, but for anyone who would come before God. You can't replace obedience with creativity. You can't substitute instruction with intention. You can't offer God what feels right instead of what He has said, because not all worship is accepted. Was it just the fire, or was it the heart behind it? Some believe they were careless. Others believe they were prideful. Some even suggest they weren't fully aware. But at the core of it all was this: they chose their way over God's way. And that's where everything broke. We live in a time where everything feels flexible, where truth feels adjustable, where standards feel negotiable. But this story reminds us of something unchanging. God is holy. Not partially holy, not sometimes holy. Completely, perfectly, unchangingly holy. And when we approach Him, it matters how we come. This isn't just an ancient story. It's a mirror, a question, a warning wrapped in history. Are we offering God what He actually asked for? Or are we creating our own version of worship? Our own version of truth? Our own version of obedience? Because sincerity alone is not the standard. God's word is. True worship isn't just emotion, it's alignment. It's surrender. It's saying, not my way, but yours. It's choosing obedience, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs something, even when no one else understands. Because God doesn't look for performance. He looks for reverence. It's easy to become familiar, to lose the weight of who God is, to treat holy things as common. But this story pulls us back. God is loving, yes. God is merciful, yes. But He is also holy, and that has never changed. This isn't just about fear. It's about alignment. God doesn't reject people, but He does reject what is not aligned with Him. And the good news is, we can choose differently. We can come before Him the right way, with humility, with obedience, with reverence. Nadab and Abihu had access. They had position. They had opportunity. But they lost everything because they chose their way over God's. Let that sink in. Because in the end, this isn't just their story. It's a warning for anyone who thinks God will accept anything we choose to give Him. If this message challenged you, don't ignore it. Let it change how you approach God. Because He is not just present, He is holy. And how we come before Him still matters. Subscribe for more powerful Bible stories. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because truth like this should never be taken lightly.